All right. Shalom, shalom. First and foremost, before I get started, as always, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'Shem Al Shai, Baharak Chakodash, which Yahweh is the name of the Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai, that's whom this world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, is his true name. And the Chakodash, that is the Holy Spirit. And I would like to also give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to all you brothers out there. I just want to do a quick lesson that's based on your health, okay? And it was inspired by two things. The first thing was something that a brother mentioned in the morning, and he ended up showing the camp, I guess, sick. So, brothers, exhorted him, mentioned a couple things. And the second thing is the Apostle Gabar, he just made a video that was concerning fasting. And I just wanted, to also do a lesson on these things, all right? And, Akim, you can't have that spirit of, because I'll say this, years back, a lot of brothers were in this type of mindset, of not really caring, okay? We had that, whole spirit of, well, America's going to be destroyed. It's all good, whatever. We're just going to keep, drinking, eat whatever we want, and keep prophesying, you know what I mean? All right? And, years later, we're still here, okay? And you can't, misuse the body that the Lord has given you, okay? You got to take care of it, all right? You have to take care of yourself. Excuse me, damn mosquito. But point being, though, is that you got to take care of yourself, okay? Hey, the scriptures talk about how, basically health is wealth. And, let me start off with that. I think that's 1 John. I haven't used this scripture in a pretty long time. I think it's 1 John, 5, if I'm not mistaken. This is, oh man, where's it at? Give me one moment. Where's the 2 John? But yeah, point being, though, is, pretty much health is wealth. And of course, this world, they got it from what? The scriptures. All right, it's a very important thing. You don't want to be sickly, okay? You don't want to be out of shape, all right? You don't want to have ailments. It's just not, it's not a fun time, okay? Having these certain conditions. And especially the times that we're coming into, you got to be, first and foremost, of course, spiritually, all right? You have to be spiritually, mentally, and physically ready for the things to come, to the best of your ability, you see? All right? But let me get that real quick, because like I said, it's in one of these Johns, because it talks about how health is basically wealth, all right? Like I said, I haven't used this in a while, so forgive me, for taking a moment to get it. Here we go. This is 3 John 1 and 2. And it reads here, Beloved, I wish above all things that thou mayest prosper and be in health, even as thy soul prospereth. Okay, so yes, first and foremost, you want to, be spiritually on point with things, all right, with Yahweh Ba'Shem Al Shai. Okay, of course, that's the most important thing. Hey, but secondly, you need to take care of your body. Okay, that's your temple, where your spirit dwells, and you want to make sure that it's on point, okay? And especially with the world that we live in, because look, we live in America, where all the food is poisoned, the water's poisoned, the air's poisoned, so on and so forth. It's just all these things are against you, okay? You see, all these things are against you. We were constantly eating GMO foods. All right, we're not, getting all the minerals that we need in our water, right? Hey, you look up, and all you see half the time are, planes, flying by, spraying out chemtrails. That affects your body. All right, that affects your mood. You see? All right, so yeah, you really got to be on it. Like I said, hey, you got to, eat right. Let me get this, because that's a good thing. All right. Let me get this, because look, brothers, hey, you got to get into the herbs. And that was one of the things that the brother Shaman actually mentioned. He said brothers need to get into tinctures, all right? Learn how to combine, different, like herbs together to have a potent, basically substance, depending on what it is, right? Because you combine certain things and it's very effective, okay? But let me get this. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 35, okay? Let me get this. This is, not 35, excuse me, 38. This is Sirach 38. I'm going to start at 1. Honor a physician with the honor due unto him, with the uses which ye may have of him, for the Lord hath created him. And I'll say this, if you got a brother that's around you that, that can help you out, right? With different, like I said, tinctures, different, let's say, like powder mixtures, so on and so forth. Hey, honor that man, give him some money for his services. Or, if you don't have money like that, help him out when he's in need. Okay, maybe he might need a ride somewhere. Hey, maybe he needs a brother to talk to. Whatever the case may be, hey, you provide, whatever services you can, to that man. You see? All right. Let me keep reading this verse 2. He says, "For of the Most High cometh healing, and he shall receive honor of the king." And ultimately, I'll say this: the Lord is the one that heals you. Okay. If you're, going through some type of ailment, all right, you got to pray, okay? Pray to Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai to cure you of whatever disease that you may be, experiencing, all right? Or whatever ailment that you're experiencing. And I'll say this, I had a situation a couple years back where I was plagued with something. I don't even know what it is to this day. I ended up not going to a doctor because, hey, the Lord ended up, healing me. Okay, but I'll get into that a little later because there was a couple steps that I did. Okay, I fasted. This is gonna be a testimony, okay, of how important it is to fast. All right, but I did the whole 3-day fast, cleanse my body out. All right, and I believe that was one of the tools that helped me, get well. Okay, and the scriptures talk about what have the elders pray over you. That's another thing that I did often. You see? All right. And many more things. And I'll say this: I'm a brother that eats healthy. I've always, even in the world, I was always eating healthy. Okay. But hey, you got to be very mindful of things, especially as you get older. You got to cut out bread. Cut out the carbs because those things aren't good. You got to cut out sugars, fried foods. You see? You could be eating lawfully, but it could be still terrible for you. Especially those fried foods. Jake likes to fry their food a lot. You got to get out of that spirit, man. You need to grill it, bake it. You see? That's what you got to do. Now, of course, there's nothing wrong with having, some fried chicken here and there. Whatever it may be, you might, get yourself an ice cream, right? There's nothing wrong with these things, but keep it to a minimal, okay? You see? Let me keep reading. It says back in Sirach 38:3, "The skill of the physician shall lift up his head, and in the sight of great men he shall be in admiration. The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth." This is the main reason why I got this. "The Lord hath created medicines out of the earth, and he that is wise will not abhor them." Okay? So look, the Lord has all these different herbs, that are out here that you need to be, using. Okay? And he'll help you. He'll heal you. Brothers got to start using honey more. Garlic. Okay? Oregano. Matcha. Maca. Okay? These are just some things that are, coming off the top of my head. There's many things. All right? Get into cranberries. All right, beets, and I'll say this, I don't even really use beets, but I know beets are great for you. Something that I actually need to start, getting into myself. Okay? All these different things, you need to use them. That's why they were placed on the earth. It's for your benefit. Don't hate them. Okay? You see? And another thing too is, eat properly. Don't make these huge portions, because we actually talked about this in class several weeks ago, maybe a month or two ago. I don't even remember. Time is just flying. But we were going in how when you're eating, you're supposed to take your time. Okay? Don't eat so quickly. Hey, make sure you're chewing your food. All right? Breaking it down. All right? And then, as you're, taking your time, eating, it allows, your stomach, or I'll say this, your brain to realize what's in your stomach. Signals will be, sent, to and fro, and you'll be good. And you don't realize you don't need all these huge portions. See, that's the problem in America. They feed you these huge portions, and then you just eat it super quickly, and you act like, oh man, I needed all this food. When really you only needed maybe a half or 2/3 of what they even served you. Okay? You see, we live in a messed up society. Then, I'll say this too. Since Esau, he doesn't, respect the land Sabbath that the Lord, has, said to do, mixed with him constantly spraying the food with different pesticides, you're not even getting, a lot of the nutrition, all right, that you really need. So that's why you're constantly feeling hungry. Okay? You see? Like I said, we live in a very messed up, society. This is why we need deliverance. We need salvation. Because, the predicament that we're in, it's not a good one. All right? But like I said, I'm just, covering, a couple things right now. All right? Just, kind of, doing an impromptu on this. I didn't have anything really lined up. But, let me get this. Hold on, give me 1 second. Because the scriptures talk about what? The diversity of plants. Give me 1 second. It's in Wisdom of Solomon. Oh, come on, man. Give me 1 second. Because I'll say this. When you come into this truth, okay, your knowledge is supposed to expand. And the Lord wants you to get into all these different things. You should have a general background of really everything. Okay? And one of the things is, knowing the herbs. Okay? Knowing what's good for you. How to heal yourself. Now, of course, you're going to have certain brothers who are, who are excelled in that field, right? I'll say this because we always bring it out. Like in GMS Chicago, we got certain physicians. We got several brothers that that are really knowledgeable in all these different herbs. But point being, though, you yourself should have, like I said, a general idea of what to use, for whatever situation. Okay. But let me get this. Like I said, this is the Book of Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 7. And I'll start at, I'll get to the point 20. Now, when you read this chapter, it's talking about wisdom, and it goes into, what you learn from wisdom, right? This is Wisdom of Solomon 7 and 20 now. It says, the natures of living creatures and the furies of wild beasts, the violence of winds and the reasonings of men, the diversity of plants and the virtues of roots. You see, you're supposed to know the diversity of plants and the virtues of roots, all right? You're really supposed to be on top of your game with these things, okay? Go to what is that? Like a Barnes and Nobles, right? This is something that I want to do, Lord willing, soon. Get books on these different plants. You can look it up too on Google, of course, and all that stuff. But it's nice to sometimes just have things in a physical copy. All right. Like I said, get these books. Look up these sites. Maybe go on YouTube, listen to a couple of health experts. Jot some some notes down. Okay. Then eventually it'll just start sticking with you and you'll remember it. But have these things on deck. All right. You see? Got to be on top of your stuff. Okay. But let me get this, because I did mention about the fasting, and this goes into basically land backing off of the Apostle Gabar, and it's a testimony. Like I said earlier, a couple years back, maybe like 2 years back, I got really sick. I lost like a good 50 pounds roughly. So I don't even know. I was weighing like $150 at most. I wasn't even my normal weight at all. It was probably like 50, 60, what, I don't even know. I was 140, 150. I was looking terrible, losing a lot of blood. Okay. Very weak, like my muscles were actually hurting. My bones were hurting. I was going through a lot. But one of the things that I did was fasted. And I did that 3-day fast. And basically when you do that 3-day fast, your body literally resets. It's like a reset button for the body. And your immune system, basically restarts. Okay? And you need that. We need to allow our body to rest and then, basically restart itself. It's like anything, especially back in the day, with the computers, right? You'd always have to restart it, let it, shut down, cool it off. Because if you overuse something, it's going to eventually break down. You see? But let me get this, because Yahweh Shai said it. Hey, you got to pray and fast. Okay? You got to pray and fast. This is Mark chapter 9. Verse 28, and when he was come into the house, his disciple asked him privately, why could not we cast him out? Talking about this demon, okay? And he said unto them, this kind can come forth by nothing but by prayer and fasting, okay? So sometimes, in order to get that demon out of you, and I'll say this, them diseases are just demons, okay? Messing with your body. All right, taking on a physical form to, bring you down, carnally speaking. That could bring down your spirit too. Because then you're taxed. All right, but point being though is, hey, you got to pray and fast. Okay? You have to do these things. Like I said, hey, I mentioned tools, right? You got to use these tools in order to heal you. Praying is a very important thing. All right? Now, we all can do more of it. But there's certain times, I'll say this, where you really got to, sit your butt down and really, beg the Lord, all right, to be in your favor, to help you out. All right? Then, like I said, then that fasting is key. Like I said, that's what I believe helped me become cured. Because it was shortly after I did that fast, maybe around like 2 weeks later, maybe a little less, I don't know, maybe a week or two later, that's when I started bouncing back. It took a couple of months to get my appetite back. All right, to start gaining weight, and then to start working out again. All right? That was a no joke experience, and after that situation, I constantly, tell brothers to fast. And then there's like how the apostle was going into. There's different levels of fasting too. You don't necessarily have to do these 3-day fasts. You could do intermediate fasting. All right, which I forgot the exact time frame. I think it's you eat after 12 to 16 hours. Roughly. That helps out a lot because that that allows your body to get the excess waste out of the system. Okay? Then you have a thing called dirty fasting, which I didn't know the term until I actually watched the video today, which that means you were fasting, but you still drank water, which maybe that's what you need to do. Maybe you don't have to do a full-on fast, but maybe you need to do a dirty fasting. Hey, just, have liquids in you. Just so you can get your you can get by for the day, but then your body is getting rid of all that BS out of your system. Because that's the thing too. I'll say this, because they say that these experts, they say that you have about 10 pounds of waste, okay, in your system. 10 pounds of excess waste, toxins, man, that just didn't get out. That's why people are always, especially, Jake in America, that's why they're always so sluggish, tired. That's why they always have that, that beer belly, okay? And that's because they got all that excess waste. And they eat trash too, The other thing as well is they always eat. Like the apostle said, hey man, this world, especially Jake, all they do is just eat, and eat. When really you don't even need it. Jake be eating because they're just bored. And that's something that we got to break out of it. If you're a brother that's was like that in the world, you got to snap out of it. Okay, you got to improve. You see, got to improve. All right, and the last thing that I want to talk about is Akimi, you gotta work out, man. Move. Okay? Even I think Genesis tells you that. It talks about how, let me see if I can find it. I think it says something how we're like moving creatures, something under those lines. Give me 1 second. We're meant to be active. Okay? We're like water. Hey, if you're around stagnant water, right? That water is dirty, is diseased, all messed up. Same thing with us. If we're constantly just sitting around, we're going to be dirty, diseased, okay? Not fresh. Through. Let me get this. I think it's moving creatures. Something under those lines. I forgot how it's worded. Yeah, hold on. Let me see if this is it. Yeah, this is Genesis 1:20. And God, and we know I'll say this. This is talking about the Alahayim. All right, this is just a side note. The powers. It's basically the 144,000. That's a whole nother lesson within itself. The 144,000 helped Yahweh Shai create everything that we see right now and that we experience. Let me get this. It says, the power said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath light, and the fowl that may fly above the earth, and the open firmament of heaven. Point being is that we're what? Moving creatures. Okay? We're supposed to be active, like I said. I'll say this, out here in Chicago, hey, brothers are getting in tip-top shape. A lot of brothers are training. And I'll say this, we our leader out here, Elder Melkema, he's a jiu-jitsu expert. All right? Black belt. Muay Thai, was a former Muay Thai fighter. Constantly hitting the gym when, in the world and now, So he's a great example. Brothers say took heed. And now, like I said, Chicago, brothers are, constantly in the gym working out, constantly training. And I've noticed, the brothers that are constantly, like I said, working out, training, being active, those brothers aren't really sick like that. Because when you're working out, you're sweating, right? And when you sweat, that gets rid of toxins out of your system, which we have, okay? And like I said, we live in a world where we're constantly getting poisoned. Esau's trying to constantly attack us. So we got to get on this stuff, man. Okay? Can't be lazy. Look at Apostle Gabar, right? The past, about year, 2 years now, going on 2 years, he's been on on this I guess you could say health campaign. All right, and you need to take heed. And I'll say this: not every brother is going to be some bodybuilder, so to speak, right? But look, hey, you brothers should be able to walk several miles and be all right. You brothers shouldn't be 6 feet tall, right? Let's just say, and you're weighing 250, 300 pounds. And I'm being, blunt about it. No, man, that's out of shape, bro. That's terrible. That's terrible. You know what I'm saying? Okay? It's not good. And it's there. You just start off a little here, a little there. And you start off by walking. That's the best exercise is walking. Low impact. Get your heart rate up. Right? Very easy to do. Works out literally the whole body from head to toe. Do that, and you start off with that. Then you might start, hitting, a little bit of weights. Do some calisthenics. Then eventually, maybe you could, start jogging, whatever, running, sprinting. You could ride your bike. The Apostle Gabar does it all the time. Goes on the trails, rides his bike. Okay, do the same thing. Hey, maybe start training. Do jujitsu. Do Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, whatever, man. Get into it. All right? And you got to remember, like I always like to mention to the brothers, hey, our nation was full of warriors, right? You look at our forefather Abraham. Hey, he trained his men, right? His manservants, and they raided Sodom and Gomorrah, man. All right. Okay. Yeah, you have King David, King Saul, Samson. These were mighty men. Look at King David. He was killing tens of thousands. Talks about the men of valor, right, in the scriptures. Our men were no joke. But now they're just soft. Mind you, you had to have some real skill to fight back in the day. Not like today where half the time these guys, all they do is pull out guns, man. These YNs just pull out a bunch of guns and shoot everything in sight, right? Or they try to shoot you and hit everything in sight. I'll say it like that. They aim at you and everything else around you gets hit but you. That's why it always happens. There'll be like a drive-by or some type of shootout and the targets never get hit. It'll be some little kid, somebody's grandma, you know what I mean? It's ridiculous. You see? Even which is funny because the Apostle Peter is King David. But yeah, you look at Apostle Peter, he sliced a man's ear off. A Roman centurion's ears clean off. You got to think about how accurate and skilled he was to do that. All right? So like I say, brothers, they really get on it, man. Really get on it. Look, man, you got people in the world doing this. Hey, don't let somebody in the world outbeat you. You know what I'm saying? Now, of course, we don't put, our whole, life into these things because we're trying to obtain an incorruptible crown, right? These people, they want all the glory on this side, the corruptible crowns. But I'm just trying to make a point. Don't let these people outwork you, out-hustle you, man. All right? No. Hey, we got the spirit of Yahweh Shema Shai on us. Hey, we're supposed to be top-tier men. Above and beyond. Abnormal. Okay? So, that's pretty much it, hey, Akim. Like I said, hey, just eat clean. Get into these herbs. Start looking stuff up. Start buying herbs. Start taking the herbs that you need. Okay? Watch how that helps you out. Eat healthy. Because like I said, you can you could be having, of course, you're following the dietary law, but you're not eating right. You're eating too much bread, which is, going into your carbs. You're eating too much, fried food, too much dairy. That can mess you up. All right, be wise on how you eat. Have a clean diet. Fast more. Like I said, your body, every so often, you need to do that 3-day fast to have the body, reset. Do a lot of, because this is what I do as of recent. I like to fast once a week at least. Okay, even if like the apostle used that term, dirty fasting, right? I'm at least allowing food to get out of my body, and it feels great. Honestly, it feels great to get it all out. So I'm telling you, you have a lot of excess weight on you because of, like I said, all that waste in you. Okay, pray, and then hey, like I said, hey, work out, brothers. Get out there and be active. Quit being so goddamn lazy. And with that, I'm gonna end this lesson. We're gonna give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh Shem Shai. Also, double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Salutations to all you brothers out there. Shalom.